Hey there, it's Andrea Olson here with Go Diaper Free, and today I'm going to record episode 111, which is about the fact that I've stopped breastfeeding forever after 5 kids and how I really feel about it. So let's record it now. Welcome to the Go Diaper Free podcast, where we're all about helping our babies potty as early as birth. I'm your host, Andrea Olson, author and mom of 5 babies, all EC'd from birth, all out of diapers by walking. This is episode 111. I've stopped breastfeeding forever, and how this really makes me feel. Today we are going to talk about my journey of breastfeeding pretty briefly over 5 children and how I feel about just stopping. You can read the show notes or the written version of this over at godiaperfree.com/111 and also comment there at the end because I always really love to hear about your own experiences with that as well. Okay, so I've basically been breastfeeding for 10 years, you guys. It's been crazy. I feel like in the beginning, I don't know. I just always wanted to. I always knew I was going to nurse my babies. I always knew I was going to at least try because I know a lot of women aren't able to, including some of my friends. But once I had my first baby, I had 0 problems. I've had an oversupply with every single one of them, and I've been really, really blessed with being able to breastfeed each of them as long as I want to. So for my first one, I breastfed him for 2 years, pretty much every 2 hours, 24/7 for 2 years. By the end of that, I was kind of a wreck, to be honest. I really wanted to stop breastfeeding him at about 17 months when he started ripping my bras to get to my nanas, which is what we call them. And just to be honest, I felt guilty about that. I felt guilty about wanting to stop and wanting to have my body and my energy back and to have boundaries, between me and him, healthy boundaries. And I've definitely learned a lot with the last 4 babies since him, but with him, I felt guilty, so I didn't. I stuck with it. And what it caused was a lot of anxiety between us because I think he could tell that I was ambivalent. And he could tell that, I did it and I willingly did it, but I was also like, I kind of don't like this ripping my shirt off thing. I don't know if you've had that experience, but it's kind of, especially in public, you're just like, okay, I don't want everybody to see my breasts every day. So for him, I did abrupt weaning, and I read about it first because I was like, okay, gradually doing it for me isn't working. I tell him we can't have him right now because of the time of day or whatever, and he wasn't gonna take that. He's like, no, I want him all the time because there's no reason not to. So to have a very clear ending with my first was a really good idea, and I learned about that through the Nursing Mother's Guide to Weaning. It's kind of an older book that a friend of mine gave to me, and I found out that other indigenous cultures will often, and usually around 3 years old, they extend breast. They use a diaper backup, if anything at all, for a lot less time. And then they breastfeed for a lot longer time than we in America, for example, where we're the opposite. We have kids in diapers till 3, and we only breastfeed for 6 weeks or 6 months. They only use a backup diaper for 6 weeks or 6 months, and then they will breastfeed for 3 years. So quite the opposites. And that's a generalization, but you know what I mean. It's just a very different reality. So anyway, I found out that they would put things like mustard seed on their nipples, something really spicy, jalapeno, something that the baby is like, ow, I don't like how that tastes. And not ow in pain, but ooh, that's a really that's just not, I don't like it. It doesn't taste good. So we want to deter them from wanting it, right? And then that kind of displaces the responsibility of, okay, it's not my mom who's telling me no and stop. It's actually that they just don't taste good all of a sudden, and I'm not really sure why, but okay, I'll move on to other things. So it's a really nice way of displacing that and not making it a power struggle, if that makes sense. So anyway, you can learn more in that book, and I'll link to it over in the show notes at godiaperfree.com/111. But to move on, that worked. Within 3 days, we were done of him checking, but really instantly we were done. And there was no anxiety. There were no tears. I had a few tears because I was a little bit sad about it. But to be honest, it was just really clear communication for him that this is over and you're a big boy now. And he'd say, I want nanas. And I'd say, okay, go ahead and try them. And I'd already I used grapefruit seed extract. So I'd already put it on my nipple before, like right when I woke up. And he didn't see me put it on there. And he'd ask for them, and then he'd taste it, and he'd go, ooh, that tastes yucky. And I said, oh, that must be because you're a big boy now. They're really only for babies and you're such a big boy. At the same time, I moved him to his own bed at the same time. So there were a lot of very clear rituals for ending babyhood and entering toddlerhood, big boyhood. Okay, so that's my longest story to share. The next few babies, with Isadora, I actually had postpartum depression and I was taking Celexa, just to be completely transparent, for about, until she was about 18 months old. When I was pregnant with Cooper, I stopped. And Celexa, they say it doesn't pass through the milk to her, and she acted normal, just the same before and after. But I feel like that's the reason why she just kind of self-weaned at 11 months. She didn't really want him anymore. And there's a little bit of self-blame that I have, but that got me through that period. It was a very dark period of my life and very, very hard. I'd had undiagnosed postpartum depression for 3 years and had no idea. I just wasn't myself. I was really edgy. And that helped me. And then I got off of the Celexa, no problems, then had Cooper unassisted. So while I was pregnant with Cooper, luckily wasn't also breastfeeding Isadora. But when I was breastfeeding Cooper, I got pregnant with Branson. And that was a fun surprise. Actually, I think he was on purpose. They're all wonderful, but definitely some were planned and some weren't. So when Cooper was about 13 months old, I remember how sore my nipples were from breastfeeding Cooper while being very newly pregnant with Branson. And one night I was nursing him to bed and I just screamed. It hurt so bad. I didn't mean to scream, but I was like, ow, kind of a mommy scream. And Cooper started crying. And David came into the room and he was like, are you okay? What's going on? And I said, it just hurts so bad. My nipples are so sore because I'm pregnant. And he's like, I'll put him to bed. And I didn't nurse Cooper again. And that was 13 months old, which is a good long time. And I should be patting myself on the back. Yay, good job, mama. And I would pat you on the back for that. But I felt guilty again. I definitely felt guilty, like I could have, should have, would have done more if I could. But it was literally excruciating pain, like nothing I'd ever felt before. After that, then Branson. So my fifth baby, I think I covered all of them. My fifth one, Twyla, we just recently kind of stopped, and she's almost 2. So just to share a tiny bit from that story, I was nursing her back to sleep all night, and it was waking me up 2 or 3 times a night. And after 10 years of being woken up 2 or 3 times a night, I was like, I'm good. I can't do this anymore. David, I'm going to go nuts. You got to help me. So he started waking up with her, bless him. And he'd wake up with her in the middle of the night, put her passy back in, potty her if she wouldn't settle back to sleep right away. And that not only helped her become dry all night, not because of the fluid coming in, because she just started to connect her sleep cycles and really sleep through the night solidly. Because of that, at 16 months, she was dry all night and a diaper backup. And then at 17 months, we just stopped using diapers at night, and she's been great. And knock on wood, she's doing great. So with Twyla, I breastfed on demand, and I also work 3 hours a day from home. So, and then I also have a couple of hours of help otherwise because there's a lot to manage here, and my husband works all the time. So I have help maybe between 3 and 5 hours a day, which I'm very grateful for, because in the beginning I did not have any help at all. And I think that's why I had postpartum depression. I didn't have any help. But anyway, coming back to Twyla, so I just breastfed her on demand we co-slept for 4 months, then I put her in her own crib, and then I'd feed her every time she woke up. I would potty her, then feed her, nurse her, and then start our day. And then the first fuss after breastfeeding, I would potty her again. And that's just our routine, our cycle. Over time, it turned out that I would feed her before or after her nap. And so in the morning, when she woke up, after her nap, and then at night when I put her to bed. So it kind of naturally, as her naps extended and there were less of them during the day, I naturally started to just choose not to nurse at certain times, and also along with solids. And I think that's something to do with baby-led weaning. You start to, when they start salivating and grabbing at your food, and you start giving them solids, and it's just a gradual weaning, and that's exactly what our experience was. So you could look more into baby-led weaning if you're interested. But with her, I didn't have to, and with all the others, I didn't have to do any kind of abrupt weaning. Oh, I didn't talk about ending with Branson. I stopped nursing Branson at about 16 months because I was pregnant with Twyla and I was just about to have her. And I was like, I don't really want a tandem nurse. And I don't feel guilty about that. I commend those of you who have tandem nursed. That's nursing 2 babies at once. I was just like, he's losing interest. Actually, he was 18 months. He's losing interest. So I'm just not going to push it. And my milk's about to change. And I really want to preserve that for the baby or reserve that for the baby. So I just kind of said, no, we're not having him anymore. And he was fine. So it was really, really easy because his temperament. Okay, back to Twyla. Baby-led weaning, kind of gradual on it. Then we were just doing nursing and first thing in the morning and we'd lay there together for 30 minutes and just nurse. This was from about maybe 17 to 22 months. And it was beautiful. This time when we could just bond and lay there and nurse together. And then she just would do a little bit and just stop and be like, other one. And then do the other one for a little bit and then stop. So she started to stop wanting it. And then nursing her at night, she started to just sort of dive into her crib. Like she didn't want me to rock her or nurse her or anything. She just wanted to go to bed. So I followed her lead with that. I was like, cool, because that's kind of where I'm at too. Great. It's been a long 10 years of nursing. I'm good. And it was a little bit bittersweet. But I asked her one of the last days, I said, is this the last time we're ever going to have nanas? And she goes, yeah. And I know I trust her and all my children to communicate when I ask them questions, and I just trusted that as her answer. And then I think the next night I asked her, hey, you want nanas before bed? And she goes, no. And she just went off to play. And so that was it. Then we had Thrush. She had Thrush for about a week. And I really felt like emotionally, I really wanted to nurse her. I don't know if any of you have felt this way, but I was just like, gosh, I really want that connection back. And I still had milk. I checked, I squeezed, still had milk. But the Thrush, you can pass that between each other. So I cleared up the Thrush with the doctor's help. I tried natural remedies. And then I was like, okay, she's in so much pain. Thrush is like when you get candida in your mouth. And she just couldn't. It was hard to eat. She just wasn't feeling well. She didn't have a fever, but she was definitely miserable. So that said, that week kind of what was a blessing in disguise. It helped me to stick with my decision. And at 22 months, we were weaned. She did try again after that week of Thrush. She's like, I want nanas. And so she started to open my shirt, which, like boundaries, girl. Okay, let's do it. And she'd suckle and nothing came out and it hurt me. And she just kind of gave up and walked away. She tried again the next day and then that's it. And I know my 3-year-old sometimes comes up and he's like, I want nanas too. And they'll open it up and look at them. And I let them look at my body because I feel like it's a normal thing for me. I mean, we walk around naked most of the summer inside our house, outside our house. We have a lot of properties where we're like, yeah, whatever. Bodies are bodies. These are bodies. But I don't let them try to nurse when I have milk because I felt like, no, you're done. And it's baby's turn. This is baby's milk. So now I have no milk. And I'm happy to report my boobs are about the same size as they were before I had kids. My nipples are very different, but that's okay. I took one for the team. It was worth it. And I think it's amazing. Can we just take a moment to just marvel at the beautiful creation that our bodies are, that my breast can create exactly the food that my baby needs at that moment in her or his development, in that moment in time of their wellness or illness, that we are so synced up between our breasts and our baby's mouths. And for those of you who are blessed to be able to nurse or are pumping and bottle feeding, like my friend who just had twins, she pumps and bottle feeds, and you are able to. It's such a thing to just take a moment right now and just be grateful for our breasts. Yay, nanas. So that's all I wanted to share today. If you want to check out that resource on weaning, feel free. And they also talk about gradual weaning as well in there. And I know there's lots of different opinions. I'd love to now hear yours. So go to the show notes over at godiaperfree.com/111. And actually, that's just the written version of today's show. So you can read what I've just talked about. And down below at the bottom, just leave a comment and let me know. Have you also stopped breastfeeding or are you about to? And how do you feel about it? Because we all have mixed emotions about it. There's guilt, there's blame, there's shame, there's just ambivalence. There's also clarity, and boundaries and wanting our own bodies back, but also wanting to nurture our babies. All of that is totally okay and welcome. In those comments, feel free to write there and we can support each other. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed learning about and listen. Just thanks for listening to my story. It's I'm a little bit sad. My husband has done the clip, so we are done having babies, and I am a little bit sad that I'll never breastfeed again, because that means but that also means I'm on to the next phase in life, which is nurturing these babies in other ways and homeschooling and being there for them. And I just want to add that breastfeeding the way I've been able to and doing EC the way I've been able to have both been choices, and very clear choices that I've had high priority for both with each baby. And I feel like both of them have made me a better, more confident mother in everything. And my kids are thriving, and I feel like both of those things, EC and nurturing through nutrition, whatever that ends up being for you if you didn't breastfeed. I don't want this to make you feel guilty if you weren't able to breastfeed. I just want to share my story. And I think everybody's stories, we all learn something from our stories, right? So hopefully this episode has helped one of you, and we can connect over there in the show notes. But what goes in and what comes out, nursing, breastfeeding, bottle feeding, and then what comes out, EC, are two ways to definitely build confidence in parenting and being a new mom. It's very special. So thanks for sharing this with me. And until next time, happy potting, y'all. I'm Andrea Olson, and you've been listening to the Go Diaper Free podcast at godiaperfree.com, and I'll see you next time. All right. That was a little hard for me because I don't want to offend people who weren't able to breastfeed. So if that's you, please don't feel offended. I think we should feel happy for each other in whatever wins we have, whatever ways we are able to do the things that we're hoping to do. And then whatever hand we're given, that's the right hand, that's the right thing for us. So down below this video, please go ahead and comment also. Have you also stopped breastfeeding? Or are you about to? How do you feel about it? Do you have any comments, feedback, other resources I've missed? Please comment below, hit the bell, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.